You know,
Are you
it's,
gonna record?
Yes. Okay, so welcome to the ENS meeting. We're gonna wait a little bit for a final member before, so we'll skip over approving minutes. Or for now, those can always, I guess, get approved next month at worst. Not the end of the universe. I mean, oh, see, look at that. See, that's why I had to start it, because now he's here.
I got it.
Okay, perfect. I know, there should
Should be here.
There should be a button over here. There's one actually over there. That doorbell to the right.
Does that work?
Yes, it does.
Both of them work?
Yeah, but those are both the front of the room, so it's not really
Yeah.
helpful.
Welcome.
Oh,
Okay, a
and
quorum.
Stephen.
Yay. Right.
Yes, the chair recognizes Stephen Fruit for saving the day and making quorum. Thank you. Okay, so then, yeah, so has anyone had a chance to look at the minutes that I wrote this morning? And is there anything that I didn't mention that needs to be mentioned, or is that good enough?
I think they're very
tiny.
What?
they look fine to me. I just read them.
Stephen read it carefully. Thank you.
I think you identified, excuse me, Bob Fanuzzi as Rob, and since you're not using last names, you might as well, because he's not called Rob by anybody.
That was, I think
I don't think it was Rob Spolver, I think it was Bob Fanuzzi.
I think that was actually Bob, yeah. Well, that's it, yeah. Geez, that's Bob.
So that's the first and second bullet under 4, and the follow bullet just before number 6.
There's so many Robs and Bobs that we have
Well,
to
that's
stick
it.
with the real name Rob.
Well, right.
When you
Well,
mean
so I
Bob
wrote
and
Robert, it's really
Bob
Bob.
Spolter?
Yeah, we're gonna change these all.
Rob Spolver.
Bob, years ago, he was Bob, years ago. And in the ENS, we had Bob Press, Bob Spolter,
Karen.
Bob Fanuzzi.
Oh, yeah, Karen and.
And
And Bob Bender. And Bob Bender.
Right, yeah.
And Laura was telling a story once where she kept saying Bob, Bob, Bob. And we all knew what she was talking about, but it made no sense.
One is editorial, and one is just correcting an error.
Oh, yeah. Changing it to be, the Tibbs Daybrook is a great green, which I'm saying high impact, which is better.
Based on what I've read. I
Yeah,
understand
that's
it's a
the,
high
and then,
impact.
right, and the board,
The daylighting is a high impact
Oh, yes,
example of
right,
green infrastructure.
yes.
and then one is grammar.
It's also
that
great.
My 6-year-old probably could have answered too. Which is the committee and the entire board have, not has, that's
Plural.
literally, she's doing that in first grade, we were just going
Wow,
over.
that's very
Really?
impressive
Yeah.
for first grade.
I
I know.
didn't think kids learned that even in
I was
college.
going over a lot. I was cutting out pictures of things that began with B.
She was doing the like, my friend Eleanor and I are going to the park, and like she was distinguishing it and doing that.
Agreements,
That's
it's amazing.
now first grade apparently. Yeah, Bob, yes. Sorry. Apologies to Bob Lucy, I did mean him, yeah, that's correct.
Motion to, approve the minutes as
As
amended.
amended, yeah. I'll second it.
Sorry, can someone in the community board send me the minutes? I only got the announcement.
Yes.
Now that they've been adopted.
I'll put my email in the chat.
You will get the minutes.
There is no
it's just
check.
that they hadn't been
Oh.
voted approved till tonight, and that's
So now
why they
that we
were
vote-
only
They weren't
distributed
sent in.
to the committee. They were not distributed to the public until they
Okay.
were approved. Yeah.
Okay, so if I'm in the mailing list, I'll automatically get the minutes, correct? Thank you.
If you get
Yes.
everything, you'll get
Yes.
the minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Great.
they'll go out when they go out to everybody, now that they're approved, they'll go out,
Perfect, thank you.
is how it works, already does it,
That is
it's own email,
Hmm.
same as the
I
thing, so
don't
yeah.
think they go out until the meeting, the board meeting.
They didn't have
No,
to
no,
be
this
sent
They
in.
go out, they
No, they
get,
go out
they go out
sporadic.
because you wanna
Yeah.
get them, right? Get rid
Right,
of
but they
them.
must go out after they're approved, right?
Yeah, but they don't all come at once. They.
No, it's what he,
Right.
cause then he'll format it, cause then attached to it will be also the PowerPoints that you
Right,
gave, and he's gonna tack that at the end.
Oh,
So
okay,
that's what will go out to everyone, but he didn't print that,
okay,
obviously.
all right.
So I
Right.
thought that was great, so it's
Yeah.
like, put that in, then give people that, and they don't have to watch the video just to look at slides.
Right.
I saw that on my computer.
Yeah, it came down as
I
everything.
said, ooh, look at this, very colorful.
Well, right, well, it's better, I mean, it was good, we talked about it, so
Yeah.
it's like all discussion of that, it's like, I just
Yeah.
wrote in here even, I think, on one of the lines, I said to see the attached,
Right.
presentation. Equally, in my notes, I had written responses and things that Effie had said, but I went back to the recording, and did I imagine it, or was Effie not at that meeting, the last meeting?
I think she was at the meeting.
She's not in
She's
the
been at
recording.
so many meetings, I can't imagine she would miss.
So then I was wondering, was I really just quoting or referring to things that she had answered in a previous meeting? Because I went through the whole recording and she never showed up, so I didn't mention things she said. Or didn't say in these minutes, because that was the one, alright, no one remembers.
I wasn't at the last meeting, so I.
Right, no, I remember.
Right.
No, if you watch the whole recording,
I
you
did, I
were
didn't-
just
didn't find
thinking of
her.
the previous
Yeah.
meeting, because she
then
definitely
in
was
my
on
little thing, I
camera.
was like,
You
Effie
see-
Oh,
says
then,
this.
yeah, that's when I had my surgery, yeah. I
Yeah,
wasn't.
exactly. Okay, so, approved, great, thank you. Now, new, not old business is unfinished business, we
Right.
learned. Harlem River Use Sustainability Assessment Plan.
Very good timing. Okay, so, today, they announced, notified the public about the change in the rule, which is making, the Harlem River not be swimmable, fishable, but just fishable. Not swimmable. When
When you
it
say
rains.
they,
When it rains. The
clarify.
state of New York, DEC, Department of Environmental Conservation. And with it, the proof of it is a 300-page use and attainability assessment. And that I haven't read yet because it just came out. But
Did you even get a copy of it yet?
I did.
You found it? Okay.
I found it, that link that you told me, we were
Okay.
chatting before, because I wanted him to know that this happened and I don't have time to even see what's in it or not, or, what we expected. And so, we have the ability to talk about a potential resolution. Or we could wait for next month, because that would be May. And then there would be a vote, and the board meets at the end of June,
June 25th.
25th. The last day to file comments is June 26th. So that's cool. So we could talk about it, we could have a bunch of different ideas, but I haven't, and neither have any of the other groups that we're involved with. The Riverkeeper, Save the Sound,
Right, I mean, I would think we
there's a lot of
obviously should
lawyers
wait
involved.
before even writing a resolution before we've read it, and before they've read it, and we hear what people's
Yeah.
opinions are of this.
Right. But I could say that there are a few things that we definitely want, and we know we can talk about, is the need for green infrastructure. So like one of the things that they're talking about, the reason they're doing this is because of the combined sewer overflow problem and the apparent long-term control plan, which they didn't do for us. We're in the larger over the open waters one, which is the East River, the Harlem River, the Hudson River, and the Long Island Sound. And so those open water is one group. But if they didn't have rain in the pipe to turn the flap on, there wouldn't be an overflow. So you could do a lot of things with clean the water after it's got polluted, but if you saved it from being polluted beforehand, with like, say, green infrastructure, or more trees, or not building buildings, a whole bunch of things.
Or the tunnel,
Or the tunnel, well, the tunnel is only a way of like saying, okay, what is your alternative to the tunnel? Like whenever you do something in government, you always have to know if there's an alternative that was cheaper, but could do the same thing at the same level or even better, which is how we got the daylighting project. And so the tunnel is now not $9 billion, it's now 8.6 or something, maybe it's 6.6 billion, a lot of money, whatever it is, and we could do green infrastructure for like 1 billion. I mean,
it wouldn't be better, but it's certainly, or better than it is now.
also, they're not gonna do anything, and I think we should be doing green infrastructure now. We should be asking them to do it, like, not waiting till do it after the daylighting project, which keeps getting postponed because of bureaucracy. But to start doing the green infrastructure, and we have places where we want it. Am I in charge?
Yes,
She-
Laura, sorry.
It just, occurs to me, has the federal mandate for New York to control their combined sewer overflow, has anything changed? No, so, we still have to do this. I mean,
But it's too much money.
the DEP pretends like we're daylighting and then we don't have to do anything else.
Right,
That's,
right.
that's my
one
point.
helpful thing for one
I mean, it is.
combined
We
sewer
fought
overflow.
for it. We
But there's
fought for it.
another combined sewer overflow in Spine Dival that will be unaffected by it, because that's from there
Well, it's
and
not,
everything uphill from
the
there.
overflow is 2 million gallons per year. So the overflow, which is the biggest one, half of the overflow on the Harlem River comes from 056, which is the base of, I should show you, I might have a map someplace, but it shows you where it comes from. It's almost most of Community Board 8. It's not the part where they see the yellow there, because that's next to the river, that's the Hudson. So but it's like the kind of middle part of it. And so every time they build another building, they're adding more stress to the pipe. They're not making the pipe bigger. No one ever does that. So, we could do it like on green infrastructure. So, but I still think it would be nice to put it on the agenda for May,
Yes, I think so.
and I'll bring maps.
Well, not building buildings is not gonna happen, so that's really not part of a plan.
Right.
We're actually on a wave that's taking us the other
Right,
way.
but if you wanna build buildings, you have to do other things,
Right,
because in
compensating.
order for us to have,
Right, you should have to capture, you should have to have holding tanks, you should have to capture the extra
Well,
runoff
that's
that
the
you're
uniform
causing.
stormwater rule.
Yeah.
but the uniform stormwater rule is not going to make it better, because the uniform stormwater rule is based on a standard of absorbing water of 1.25 inches. And I say that that's with a pipe, because the pipe is only so big. But green infrastructure is no pipe. That's the whole idea of it. It's supposed to infiltrate. And you shouldn't have to limit it to 1 point, which they do when they do the drawings. So you might need more trees, you might need more bushes, you might need pollinator gardens, I don't know, I mean, like. You also might be able to get like people who have grass in front of their building to change it and make it something more like a garden, yeah. And that might help, so like, it's not that you're against building, you're only against it because it's not correct. Anyhow, so that's some of my thoughts. Oh, and the other problem is the cost, so the cost factor, the reason why they don't wanna spend a lot of money is because it's gonna raise the water rates, and it's a burden on, low-income people, it's an unfair burden, so they could actually take care of that burden thing, they don't have to, like, they can make a different kind of rating in which the water rates are based on, like, everybody gets like, say, 90, whatever amount, and if you use more water, then you pay extra for that. But the first charge is like the lowest charge. Like when you get your Comcast or,
Right.
Cablevision. There's always the basic, and then you want us to pay more money, you can pay more money, right? You wanna use more water, you do that, right? So,
Okay, so send that to me, because I didn't see it yet, when you, at some point,
yes,
forward to me,
I will. Yes,
because we were looking for it and I couldn't find it earlier either.
yes, I will forward, it's 300 pages, I went, okay, that's it, I can't do, I just can't.
Is the East River, there was a chart, color coded by what rating they expect.
Yeah.
It was not in the new thing that you just got today.
Yes, the new thing.
It was in I'm talking about the thing that
Oh,
was
the other-
attached to the minutes.
Right,
That you
right,
presented, but had to run through.
Right, right.
Very detailed. And I was just curious, is the Hudson in the East River, not the Hudson where it opens up, but the Hudson, kind of from GE down to,
Yeah, so-
Manhattan.
so the
They
Hudson,
the same rating,
well,
no swimming
it is, but.
until there's rain?
No,
I mean,
actually, see, this
unless it's a
part,
nice
this
day,
part, starting from there's no swimming,
right,
right? But above there.
way above.
No, right, there's like a little piece that's there in Yonkers. I'll send you that map, because that's on the press, they put out a big press release, the state of New York. And it gives you the map there, and you look at it and you go, like, you have to know where everything is.
Right.
And you can see that, there's a part of the Hudson that's good, but not where we are.
Right, but it was interesting, because the wider, when it widens out, that's actually considered, not that anyone would, would be very unsafe to swim in the middle of the harbor. But that actually is better water quality than the
Right,
narrower.
that's right.
Cause you're further from any
Source,
overflows,
right.
yeah.
The
basically.
middle,
it makes sense.
the middle would have different readings on everything.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Right,
that wasn't something else we.
But they'll even close beaches sometimes after a really big storm,
Mhm.
because the overflows that are, near Coney Island or
Standard.
near.
well, they closed the beach, they
Right,
closed.
they go
Yeah.
close the beaches, yeah.
Standard, that's standard now.
So they're kind of planning to do the same for the river, which they never really let you swim in, but now they're
Right.
like, well, we'll close it whenever you really can't swim in it. And the rest of the time, we'll hope that one day you'll want to swim in it, I guess. But I'm right, we haven't read it, so we'll see what we think about.
That's how I.
The next item was updated status of Jerome Park Reservoir work, which isn't printed, but that was sent to you.
Yes,
Ahead of the meeting, there was a newsletter, they put out updating what they're working on, and they're fixing the fence, and the North Basin will remain, empty through this fall, basically. And that's it, there'll be another update, I think, in June or July.
It's
Yeah.
generally very similar to
It's
the,
usually in June, it'll be right before our June
to the
meeting,
cyclical
probably.
work that
Yeah.
they do.
They're
They're
still doing
doing
it,
crumbling walls and things like
Yeah.
that.
So they're working on, it, right, they're now starting the wall over on the, Lehman College side, I think, or something, they're reconstructing that wall now. I think they finished the one on this side.
I mean,
So,
the perennial question from just, is just community access and
right.
anything they can do to make it look better. for
And
people
that's
who
going to
live
be
here.
one of our budget requests, we'll get to. I'm gonna leave it on there, cause we might as well keep asking for it, but I understand that while they're rehabilitating it, they're like not even gonna consider that request for the moment, and that makes sense.
yes,
But like one day, when the basin's full again and they're not working on it all of the time,
right.
there's no reason why they shouldn't ever even allow a
And
tour
we're
or
watching
anything.
the wall, because they promised us that they would make the wall,
Oh, match,
well, wherever the water's gonna be, the wall's gonna be the same.
Same
Not-
stone.
It's not gonna change because they didn't wanna spend the money.
Is this so that people can see the water?
Oh, people can see the water. What are you asking the question?
No, what it is the basin, they had if the basin is full, they were gonna have the fake stone work there. But then they were draining it for long, long periods of time, and then it was just
Right.
cement looking. And so that they agreed then to make it deeper, so that most of the time you're not looking at just the cement and pretend that it's full.
Oh,
Right, so
okay.
it has to do with, I think, like 6 feet or 9 feet, and we got them to, wherever they're gonna let the North Basin be at a lower level, we're gonna see the same historic brick from mostly above, the people who live on the higher floors.
And I do believe they agreed to 9 feet.
Yeah, right,
right, they're gonna use like stone
Mhm.
that matches.
the
or
same
whatever.
stone, right.
So
okay.
aesthetically, it will look, nice.
Cause this is an old reservoir, whatever, yes.
Right.
Every drop of water in New York City goes through that reservoir.
It is right now, cause when we were just pulling from Croton, yeah.
No, it's
Well,
always
it is.
true. It's
Yeah.
yeah. It's very cool.
I'm surprised to hear that.
It's not actually,
Yeah, I know it's not actually, but we don't have to go there. I have to go there.
is the Catskill and the Delaware, and they all have different, and the third water tunnel. is-
Right, the Croton tunnel though goes through here.
Yeah, right. from-
All the Croton water.
And now, who knows what's happening? Right, now it's probably true.
Right now it is, yeah. And that's why during the construction, they have to keep one open because they're at the same time fixing the other tunnels.
And they are fixing right now.
Yeah,
I thought it was delayed. That is happening now.
Mhm. Yeah. They're going to the tunnels. You can there's pictures, you can see. DEP takes. a
It's
truck for
amazing,
that,
they took
yeah.
a lot of pictures, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
You can see pictures of the tunnels and stuff you wanna see.
Right.
Look for it. Okay. Budget. Next item is budget. We mostly talked about this. I think we were taking out. Asking for more composting stuff, because I think they restored all of that funding. And we're kind of happy about that. They are restarting some of the community composting and the composting at green markets. And it's now required curbside separating and you know, putting organics out for at least buildings 9 and under, right? Our larger buildings, is it everybody?
Everybody,
It's oh no,
Oh,
that's
no, more,
containerization
four.
is 9 and under.
4.
Yeah, everyone has to take it out. So that's the only one, which was number 3 before, and I'll bump other things up. Do we have brand new budget requests we want to make, or am I just rewording some of these and I'll send it around after this?
I
And we'll
thought
talk
we
about it.
did wanna put something, we were talking this afternoon. At 254th Street.
Well, no, that's this one. That's our number 1 priority. I'm just rewording it to be more specific.
Oh, okay.
Because it was the general, we would like you to evaluate a street segment or intersection for green infrastructure. And rather than that, I'm gonna change it to just be that while they're, like, for any projects that they're currently working on, specifically West 256 or
54th.
254, which is already slated for all of this work.
You have to
And
put between,
Did-
between
did-
the meat.
Did we hear back about a request? We were talking about doing a walkthrough there on 254th of like where the sidewalks are gonna be. Did we hear back from that? Because I wrote, do you remember we spoke about the parking spots and that
oh,
some
at the bottom,
agents?
and that's Con Ed, because Con Ed is
Yeah,
working.
right, but like we were like, we never got notified about that, and I went down and I took pictures of it, and it looks the signs seem to, and I sent them, I copied the committee, but I sent them to Farah, and I never heard back. I think the sign said the Parks Department on them, but they're still doing that. They're still doing that work.
The
I-
park
I mean, it's
department?
Con Edison doing the work, but the Parks Department is the one that put the signs up.
I
Right,
think
but it's-
cars are now parking there again. I didn't pay a lot of attention,
Oh.
but.
I mean, I haven't been at school since Thursday,
The response was
but
sort of the, right, it's that Con Ed was doing work, so it was blocked off for the Con Ed to have access.
Right.
If they're done working, or if people are starting to park there again, maybe they're done, and that was
Okay.
really it.
I thought there was also interest by the BC, by Bob and
We
you,
take
you
a
were on
trip.
Zoom
Yeah,
about
right.
walking to 54th and looking
Right.
at certain.
Right, yeah, BCQ did wanna do that, they did not, that's
No,
not
we
planned
didn't,
yet,
no,
right?
no, right. You
I mean, I
gotta
drove
wait-
it.
You have to wait for the holidays to be over, it's just,
Well, right.
it's too much,
Mm.
you know. We should be asking like DDC, because none of these agencies are actually doing these jobs, DDC is probably doing it. And,
They are lead.
and they can coordinate with the
Right.
DEP to put the green infrastructure in.
But that, yeah, but that's why I still think it's a DEP request to do it, because DEP is the ones who are going to be, they're redoing the sewer, they're the ones who are planting the trees.
Oh,
And they
they're
already- and they
redoing the
have-
sewer?
Yes,
Oh, to catch the water?
I sent you, this is
Yes.
very old.
Oh,
but
right,
Yes.
okay,
I
okay.
sent you the
I was at that
PowerPoint.
meeting,
I read
right,
Steve
right,
Richards'
right,
email.
right.
I read that whole presentation, they're adding trees, they have trees mapped out along the street where
But
they're
that's the
adding them.
Parks Department.
Right, so,
But I think the sewer may have been on Palisades.
oh, true, but DEP is doing the sewer. Yeah, they're doing the trees, but who would do, like,
Oh, why are they doing the sewer at the bottom of the hill?
well, they're doing like
To catch it
And
as it
it should be,
goes down.
it'd be too much, okay, anyhow, I wouldn't do
I
it.
think it's just because they're adding sidewalks, they're taking
They're
a little
taking
bit
the-
of land
Taking
on
the
north and south.
opportunity to replace
and
what
adding
they see.
sidewalks.
And when we do
So
the-
it's like those should be pervious pavers.
Yes, and when we do our UAA response, we should talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
And other places that we want green infrastructure.
Well, exactly, but that seemed like an obvious one where like this is about to happen, so we should ask for it right there, right now. Because otherwise the request goes where they're like, well, tell us.
I mean, it's not
other
really a
places.
funding request, because the project, I think, is completely funded. It's really an attempt to influence how they're designing things in the project,
Right,
even if they've done the master
well, that's why it's an
design and
expense,
it's
it's for them to
finalized.
plan it, it's for them to
Okay.
do it.
Okay.
I have a thought. In addition to dealing with 254th in our budget, this is a whole cycle and a process and it takes time.
Right.
We might consider a letter that you would sign with
Yeah.
Julie that would address the DC, because that would be a more immediate,
I
and then we
agree.
get that right away.
I think you're right. It's really, what
Because
you wanna
this is
do
a
is you
long
wanna
process.
They're
raise
supposed-
consciousness
they're
while
supposed
they're
to-
in the
yeah.
small details of the
Right, they're
project.
supposed to coordinate the different things like this, you know, that's what they're
Yeah,
supposed to do.
well, in the
It's not
city of
something
Yes
we need a
for
resolution on. I think the
sustainability
letter
called for all of
would be
this
I
stuff
agree.
to be occurring with new construction. I don't see why DOT shouldn't almost have to use like different things for sidewalks already.
Because they don't wanna take care of it.
I mean, I don't know if we do enough of
But
this.
that's a good place for it because that's a slope, there's so much runoff that
It's really
runs
steep, yeah.
down that street. And then if you're widening the street and adding sidewalks, you're adding more water that's like
Right.
flowing down.
Oh,
and-
yeah, I mean, listen, we just approved that permeable, the TNT.
Yeah, exactly, exactly, same exact way. So like for that, wouldn't this be a great place to have permeable pavers for the sidewalks?
Right.
Well, if we put all this in a letter, someone has to respond.
Right, and I also think.
No, that's good as a
that
letter to DDC, because
sometimes
we're not doing budget request to DDC, we're talking.
DDC,
Yeah,
DDC.
DDC,
I
right?
wrote,
we
sorry,
would
DDC, I wrote it down.
Okay.
Correctly.
CC, maybe-
Permeable pavers only work if they put it in that they're going to clean them. They clog up right away with silt. And if they don't have like in their schedule to do the maintenance to vacuum them out, they become the same as regular pavers.
So they're ordering the vacuum.
Oh, okay.
The city has to order the vacuum, they finally gave in.
Mhm.
And I don't know who's gonna have the vacuum, but I know the DEP is gonna have it.
You can have one vacuum for the entire city, huh?
Seems crazy,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
I wouldn't wanna be changing that vacuum bag.
However that works, it's probably like the subway vacuums, like this huge giant thing.
I mean, ideally, I mean, meetings are good, and they've gone twice to traffic and transportation. Once over a year ago, and then once last November, I think it was. But, maybe if it's possible, I don't know, you think they'd ever give us a meeting where people from this committee
We
and
could ask them for a meeting,
BCQ
yeah,
could sit down after having walked through and looked again at whatever they've published as far as their design plan.
That would be
and
marvelous.
Talk about things, and maybe if you could get someone from DEP to come to the meeting, and, I don't know, that would just be the best way to communicate, rather than it's good to have open meetings and have the people who live in the area, hear about things, but in terms of really getting into the nitty gritty, that'd be a great way to communicate. I mean, the letter's fine, and maybe the letter ends by asking for a meeting.
yeah, I think that's a good idea. And maybe they wanna be part of the tour.
That's true, if that's something you guys are planning. So, right, okay, I'll talk to Farah.
Well, we weren't planning, we would just go along with you, you guys
Right.
should plan it. We don't have staff. You have staff.
Yeah, well, that's it, yeah, talk to Farah, we'll talk to Farah,
Right.
okay.
Well, if DEP would agree to come and look,
Or do you mean DDC, who would you wanna?
and
Anybody,
anybody,
both
I
is
would
better
invite
than one,
everybody.
and either is better than none.
I would invite everybody and act like we're very important. You don't wanna miss this walkthrough.
There are bagels at the bottom of the hill.
That could be arranged after that, yeah.
We have to start at the top.
Exactly. Well, that is, it's a slope, I mean, that's why green infrastructure.
Part of the reason it's
is good
dangerous
there, and
too.
why it's dangerous now, and why the side of the road where they've put little plastic things, that's the sidewalk is like,
Completely.
it's like
the
it's
sinkhole.
losing into the, yeah.
Is
Yeah.
it really? It's even hard to drive there,
Because when was the last time that was even paved?
that's why it's hard to drive there, right, now that I'm
But the
thinking.
edges like
Right, they
are
collapse.
frayed and they have like sunken in over time.
That's water, it's very strong, it's
Well, the
very strong.
erosion.
Well, right, but the erosion from the water that like blows down that,
Fast,
yeah,
right,
exactly.
the speed of it, right.
So, right, new things will help, but they'll also add to the water that's flowing, if it's just. a
Yeah, and then
normal
we should
sidewalk.
also be in charge of like asking them what trees they wanna plant. Cause we don't want trees that are gonna be,
Well, that Parks decides all that.
well, but
Well,
but
invite
there's
them
always
too.
a choice, there's always a
That's
choice.
true.
Native and.
If they
also
could plant willow trees suck up water like crazy.
Yeah, but there's no
They're-
room.
But I wonder, are
they're
they putting
big.
them in rain gardens,
Yeah.
or are they just planting trees?
They could,
Cause
so you
those,
could.
those should all be rain gardens,
We,
every tree.
we advocated for, and we did what we called enhanced tree pits, which is a tree and a lot of, and a rain garden
Right, the
around it.
huge tree pit, yeah.
right? And all the water goes into the tree pit, and whatever's extra, the other roots will take care of it. And then if it's over, it will get out. And
Right.
I did those on Stafford Avenue. with
You had,
the-
there was a good picture in your presentation of
Right,
that.
right.
And I feel like that should be on both sides of 254 if
Right.
they're planting new
So
trees.
let me just,
Enhanced
So that's the
trees.
request, it's both of
clarify.
these things.
let me just clarify. We say picking a time, a date and inviting ABC or reaching out to them, the nuts
No,
and
like,
bolts of
I
this-
think
of
you should
this.
reach out to them and then say, we wanna have a tour.
Yeah,
And we like to know when it's convenient for
For
you,
you,
and
okay.
everybody has to be there, and yada, yada.
And the letter sets out the
Mhm.
concerns and interests and, open to.
And we have to invite the T&T committee, so they,
I
Don't
mean,
get mad at us.
it could also mention that while we're making this into a budget request, where this is very, imminent now and time.
or you could consult with them and say, should we make this into a budget
Oh,
request?
I mean, I want to anyway, because DEP already acted like they don't want the general, us wanting them to just do more green infrastructure, they
So
want
this is very
specific
specific.
things.
What they
So
want.
I'm giving them a specific thing,
Right,
and on top of that, we could write a letter, we could try to have a tour,
okay, as long as we're,
but like both, there's no reason not, because then everyone has to answer to it.
Well, the
in different
deadline for
ways.
the budget thing is
And the budget's
likely
coming up,
before
right.
this, so, but you can identify the project by its name.
right, but
Oh,
you'll
this
get back
budget-
a non-answer to this next January.
I know,
Wait,
I mean, I'm
let's-
never gonna suggest anything about the budget,
Well,
that's why I quit being committee.
The
chair. I
budget
didn't
process
believe
that
it.
we're doing now is for
Right,
September. It's not for July.
right,
The one for July is already in,
right, that was this
Oh,
one.
I see.
they
and so
were
this is the
responding to.
new one.
Yeah,
And so we have an ability to talk to the agency
Okay.
and ask them what they think we should be doing here.
right, well, let's say DEP wanted specific things to look into, and I feel, and like, there was no
Yeah, he said-
indication on the things you sent, whether or not those were rain gardens. It shows trees on the plan, they talked about that,
Mhm.
but they didn't really go into that, though they should, and if they plan to, or if they don't, tell us. Either way, I mean, answer to that, but they definitely should, because it's an opportunity
And I was
to
thinking
try it
we
out
should
in an area
invite,
that already
No, the
has
hope is
runoff
that
and
when
flooding.
people do these things, they'll adhere to best practices and they may not fill in every blank on the plan.
we should invite the Riverdale Nature.
Right, well, the
Preserve.
new best practices are like the bigger tree boxes and the rain gardens
Right.
and like wherever
Yeah, that's
humanly
really
possible.
Definitely.
Once
We
you're
need
digging a
those,
rain garden
right, right.
or tree pit or whatever.
Enhanced tree pit.
Yeah.
They're not, it's not part of their palette yet, but that doesn't mean we can't convince them. I know it works, so I've actually seen it, I did it,
Well, I mean, it's gonna work better than
nothing.
a sidewalk.
Right, right, and I think they have a contract out to do to hire people to take care, more people to take care of the rain gardens in the DEP.
I read something about that.
I think they're working with the Doe Foundation. I'm,
I read that that maintenance has been an issue and
Yeah,
they're
they need more
addressing it.
people,
I
right,
read that.
right. And it's actually a very good thing because, it would be good to have people do maintenance of green infrastructure, because it would set them on a career that's very successful. And lots of options, because the people that are working for all the utilities are gonna retire soon. They're finished with their time, and there'll be all these vacancies. Okay. Anything else with the budget?
The other thing was the mitigate combined sewer overflow outfalls into Spikendivell Creek adjacent to Spikendivell and Marble Hill Railroad stations with a living shoreline green infrastructure along DEP easements, and they wanted a match from OMB of like what we mean by that. Was what they said.
Is that what OMB said?
That was what DEP said.
This is on the
This
current
was on our,
budget.
it was on the last,
The
the one
last
submitted
budget,
last year,
right.
it was our only capital budget request. Was this living shoreline between Spikendivell and Marble Hill Metro
So-
North stations. A
Okay,
project I hadn't heard of until the budget request,
okay, so.
but sounds great.
BCQ
Mhm.
put in an application with the congressmen and members and asked them to fund the Army Corps of Engineers to do a feasibility study of the Holland River on both sides for living shoreline potentials. And You can't, there's not many places where there's a potential because a lot of it is built up already. Riprap, straight walls, I mean, it's just, a problem. But it will help the river get clean and healthy. And that's a $3 billion project. The match is 50% that the DEP said that they would do. They need to get approval from OMB.
That's
So
the
far,
Federal OMB.
it's, no, the city has to match it. It's a match with the locality. So,
Who's
we all,
who's the locality?
the DEP, the city of New York,
And then when you say OMB, who's that?
OMB, New York City. So DEP put
Office
in,
management.
I
DEP
didn't
put
know.
in for 26 for the next
Right.
year, not this year, for the next year. So we can wait for that, and just put it in for the next year.
Well, that's what I was gonna leave it in there.
Right, right. And so they put it in, they're waiting to hear from OMB whether or not they can get, it's only $500,000. It's $500,000 every,
Oh,
every
needs
year.
match from OMB, I get it, that's what that
That's what it
means.
is, right, right.
Match from-
That's, OMB has to approve the DEP.
So we're keeping this in because we still want this to happen. And we
Yes.
would like this to keep
And
progressing.
it's not just Spite and Dival, but for community board aid, it would be Spite and Dival and I guess the part by, Target, I mean. it's
Marble Hill, yeah.
Marble Hill, right,
Yeah.
right, right. But we're doing like the whole thing,
Mhm.
and it's the Army Corps that's getting the money. We don't get the money, We just put it in as a project. I never got any kind of like money like that before.
Okay, so I'll leave that there, that's perfect, so that makes sense, that's great, that would be fantastic, I
Yeah,
mean,
right.
again, things to help the river and
Right, I would love to get the other community boards to do that too, like.
continue along, yeah,
Yeah, the whole,
exactly.
right.
We gotta start somewhere.
Yes, I'm gonna work on
Well,
Board of Five.
PCQ could write something up and send it.
Yes, right, I have a good relationship with Board of Five and Seven also, but I haven't gotten to that, yeah. That's good.
Okay, so if that's all for budget, anyone else have any other things on that? The next thing is a resolution urging the state assembly and state senate to pass the Packaging Reduction and Recycling Infrastructure Act, which some of you have copies of. It's not here printed. But I think
I think there are copies over there.
Oh, is there a copy over there?
Is there?
I don't know, that's just the
This is the agenda,
that's just the minutes.
the minutes and the agenda.
Maybe underneath, no?
No, we didn't print it. Sorry.
I'm happy to share mine.
Okay, yeah, you have it. Okay, you were gonna, look, well, he was gonna fill them in. The office fills in.
I think you shouldn't put the names of the people in, I think you should leave it as the assembly and the senate.
Yeah, I was just.
Right, that's just, yeah,
I was just suggesting that since I just didn't know offhand, I think I know we have two senators,
right.
Yes, I wanna send.
Jackson and Rivera, but it's just one assemblyman. So you can either put their names in or you can say a lot of local legislators.
Dan, after you finish presenting, I have some comments.
Okay, so basically saying that, that this was this is going through the thing, basically pushing for people to use more recyclable packaging, and then sort of encouraging them. I think the way the bill works is maybe you would charge like companies for the waste if they're not, recycling it, basically. Which, sounds great.
Or use less of it,
Right,
just
well,
because
exactly.
even if, it gets into the environment in different ways. That's people's fascination now with microplastics.
But right, to kind of make the
That
companies that
is-
produce the packaging fund recycling of that same
Right.
kinds of packaging and to use the right kinds of plastic instead of polystyrene for, anything.
Sure.
Right.
But you still get that in food,
I
it's
know.
still allowed for some reason. Somewhat,
All kinds of packaging.
right? But you see number 6, which is polystyrene, which is not recyclable.
Right,
On like lids or like bowls or certain things, that can all be like, whatever, it could be corn fiber even.
and some of them don't even have a number on them.
Right, but though. DSNY says you can recycle any rigid plastic, regardless of number. Now,
We should certainly
New
try,
York City.
I mean, let
They
them.
say to put it all in,
I
they say
wouldn't put it in the
all
landfill
rigid
automatic.
plastics
Right,
along with the metal and glass.
but they have to sort it out.
Right,
Right, but I guess the plastics, they must be,
But we're sorting it out.
No, they have to sort it out by, so
in some
it's
places.
easy to explain glass. So what, all the glass goes together. Then they have machines. I don't know, like some of them is, some glass is heavier than others or whatever. The very dark green glass is not usable. Nobody wants that. So they sort that out. Every single thing that you recycle gets sorted out. And sometimes machine, and sometimes you can't do it with a machine.
Rob,
People who live in private
Yeah.
houses, how does their recycle, like I live in a co-op, so our building, we sort. How do people who live in private houses sort?
Metal and plastic go together,
and glass.
and, I'm sorry, metal and plastic and glass all go together, and paper and cardboard all go together.
Oh,
So
right,
Paper and
that's
cardboard
just,
is separate.
that's just like my
private
building. It's just like my building.
homes
Okay.
is 4 cans,
Okay.
wet garbage,
Right.
landfill, recyclables in 2 piles.
Yeah, Rob?
Yeah, hi. There's a bunch of points I'd like to make. One, for people, when they talk about recycling glass takes about 10 or 20 times the energy it takes to recycle plastic. Because bottles used to be reusable before, I'm sorry, Steve, before the attorneys got involved. They used to just wash them and send them back. Your milk bottles, your beer bottles, all of that. But then people realized they could say, oh, I cut my lip. I want $10,000 because this was sent back to me with a chip in it. So they don't do that anymore. So now they have to use a lot of power to grind it up and tremendous heat because it takes much more energy to make glass molten than it does plastic. Plastic melts at 400 degrees or so. It's glass. It's way higher. 2 or 3 times that amount. And the other thing is a lot of things about this concept of this bill seems to me to be specious because some of us can remember the reason that they came with this kind of plastic packaging, the theft-proof packaging, was because retail vendors were having terrible problems because bad people came into the stores and just took stuff out of the cardboard that it was in and stuffed it in their jackets. And they said, you got to make it different. So the industry stepped up and created these large, stupid looking blister packs that are impossible to open to make it so that people couldn't get the items out in the store. And from the manufacturing standpoint, they don't have 2 separate streams. So if you order it from Amazon or Walmart, it's coming from the same factory. Everything is the same. And a lot of it is coming from China, which we have no control over what they do. So industry stepped up to solve a societal problem of retail theft. And now this bill proposes to punish the industry for the solution that they came up with for the failure of the state legislature to deal with a problem that has only gotten worse to the point now it's been normalized, like public urination and all the other things. It's like, so people steal. It's not a big deal. Nobody cares about it anymore. It should be decriminalized. So to me, this is absurd because the thing about how much it costs to dispose of waste. What's included in that waste? You know what I mean? It's not all the waste from the packaging. It's the waste from a lot of different things. And it's just the reason things are cheaper is because they discovered shipping, in glass bottles is very expensive. They're heavy. If you picked up a crate of soda bottles that were glass, it's probably 50 pounds. Whereas if you picked up soda in plastic bottles, it's probably 5 pounds or so. So in terms of shipping, because this is industrial stuff. I was a plastic manufacturer for 35 years, and it's expensive to ship weight, It's also expensive to ship air, which these stupid blister packs force them to ship air because you you could have 50 widgets in a box this size, but 50 blister packs is going to take up the size of a refrigerator. Okay. But that's something that the industry stepped up to do to solve a societal problem. And now, to penalize the industry for the failure of the government with a societal problem seems absurd to me. And I'm sorry, my wife told me, don't be crazy like I was earlier today. This is the calm down me, okay? This is mellow Rob, okay? Okay, the screaming and cursing was earlier, but which Karen heard some of.
Turn off.
Part of the bill though is just to encourage them to use different materials, recyclable materials,
I agree.
materials that aren't derived from petroleum, because you could make plastic from other things that are then better, or easier on the environment, or easier to recycle.
And when you buy a hairbrush, would you like to pay $8 for it? Because the hairbrush is $1 and the package costs $7.
Well, so then put it
That's
in
where
cardboard.
that's where you're going with this. That's where
Put
you're
it in
going.
I mean,
If
Amazon
things
does
don't
that.
make
They have
economic sense, they don't happen.
Packaging, I love it.
Amazon's very good.
Amazon will do frustration-free packaging, and then it comes just in like cardboard. It's not taped, and you can pick that. It'll be like retail or.
All people have to do is choose that.
Right. Well, but
You
not
don't have to
everything is
penalize the
allowed.
industry. That's all I'm
But then
saying.
that
This
would
is
encourage that to
punitive.
be an
This is
option.
punitive. This is not good. This is
Well,
punitive. And I think it's a disgrace. I
Okay.
think it's virtue signaling.
Okay, time out.
Laura's
Yeah,
turn.
time out. Okay, well, I got to go to bed. It's time to take some morphine for me so I can get to sleep.
You were
I'm
waiting
not
for this.
joking.
Okay, my comments with this, whenever I look at these bills, unfortunately, this is the bill, and I didn't have time to really read this bill.
20 pages.
Yeah, I read
28 pages.
Some of
28
it.
pages. I printed.
I really need to look at how it's being implemented and whatnot, because we just advocated for two different state bills, as you know, Priscilla's Law and the Mass Bill. And when I start, I really do look at the bill, and then I look at, okay, what opposition is there to this bill? Because I just have to educate myself, and then I hope to deal with that in the resolution, whether it's First Amendment rights or whatever, some facts. And in looking at the opposition, which was from many business councils of New York State, and this is what I picked up. That in order to redesign and retool production lines and reimburse municipalities, what they're suggesting, 12 years is ridiculous. That there'll be changes from, I saw somewhere 30%, 50%, I have to look at it more carefully. That's not enough time. I read that. I read that, that what was lacking here is a needs assessment that other states did before they did it, like Oregon or Washington. They implement a needs assessment, and the purpose of that is to study your own state's recycling, the current state of the waste and the whole thing, to make sure, because they were talking about the chemical piece in this. There are laws already in the state that could deal with the chemical piece.
Well, and most
And
of this
there's-
is things like they're establishing a toxic packaging task force. And
Yeah, and I'm-
kind of
I'm-
look into these things.
Yeah, and you know what, every time you suggest another bureaucracy to me, non-government,
And
whatever.
advisory
And
council.
everything, a red flag goes up, and I said, I better really read the law. We got this at the end of last week, and with cooking for Passover and Seder's and everything like that, I'm not ready to vote on it because I haven't read enough, and I've read a lot of different things that I just feel I would want to look into. This mandated schedule, the fact that other businesses and, big, small, different organizations, they sent in their suggestions that would make this workable, because we're all in agreement, it's a good goal. The goals are good, but none of them were taken. And they mentioned one that was taken, but all the others, and I'm thinking, why not? why wouldn't they be working more with the organizations that they established to, you look at all these changes, are not working with the businesses. It's kind of, I
I
just
think they
don't,
are, it looks like they are.
well, the businesses are saying they're not. So
Well,
without
they haven't
having,
established anything yet.
but without
So
having read the
They
bill,
can't say that
the
because they
28th.
haven't established anything. They're gonna establish a council, an advisory council, that's going to choose a method of doing it by hiring a non-for-profit to start it off and then expanding it. You have to understand that the state of New York is not a service provider. We are uh, local rights. We take care of our own garbage, each locality, each town and city. And the question is, how much does it cost the city of New York to take care of all the things that these companies
But
are
another
saying?
question-
Wait, I'm not finished. That these companies are saying that it's gonna cost them money. Meanwhile, the city of New York has trouble taking care of it. So here's a list from, it's from the, city council page on finance for the sanitation department from last year. I don't think they have this year's out. I mean, we're spending $66 million just on waste prevention, reuse, and recycling. And I'll give you this, I mean, the cost that we have to pay as taxpayers, this doesn't include hiring the sanitation people or hiring a company to do the recycling. I don't know how I don't know what they do in the city of New York for taking care of this plastic recycling. And that is what the people are paying right now, which is really more important than what the companies are paying. Because you could sell your product in many different ways. You don't have to sell it through Amazon or through a department store.
but
And all you have to do is come up with a lesser pollutant.
Unless
What
you-
this is, yeah.
And you wouldn't have any fines whatsoever. You wouldn't have anything to do with it. It's the same thing as.
You're
what
not
we're doing.
addressing the root cause is retail theft, Karen. It's retail theft that they refuse to deal with. They refuse to deal with retail theft, and you cannot make tamper-proof stuff out of paper and cardboard.
we haven't talked about.
You're gonna put all the businesses out of business, and then you'll be happy. Then everybody, not 50% of New York would be on Medicaid. It'll be 100%. You know, you want to put everybody out of business.
I thought you were.
That there's noblesse oblige from Albany. They know better. They don't need anybody else. You know,
Right.
they're the ones that screwed up the whole criminal justice system in New York.
Even
Please.
if the genesis of the packaging is because of retail theft, it may still be the case that you have to push business to do it with better materials.
Or
More
to help-
recyclable material,
to
even
help
if the
fund the
causes were
recycling
not, we're.
You're gonna pay for that.
This is
You're
where
gonna
we
pay for
are.
that. You're gonna pay
But-
$20
maybe
for
pay
something
less
that costs
for it.
$2.
Maybe cardboard is cheaper.
But what we don't know is
Yeah.
what I've been reading, because like I said, I'm trying to do my due diligence, is the cost that will go on to consumers, the cost to business, and everything that
And
is
the taxpayer.
environmental.
And the taxpayer.
But we're consumers too, and all these different groups and whatever, reading their concerns, why can't some of the concerns be addressed in a bill? I mean,
They
they
know
told
better.
me, don't worry about your Con Ed bill, this bill, that bill, when we close in the employment. They don't tell me this, all the environmental stuff. My energy bills have doubled. I don't wanna get off the track, but my history of, because I was, and do consider myself an environmentalist, is that when they say your costs are not gonna go up, businesses, your costs consumers are not gonna increase, they're lying. And we don't know what those costs are. And I don't think enough attention, that's all, I'm not saying enough attention has been paid because it's a one size fits all. If you have your plastic water bottles and they've already gone this thin and they started out like that, and we could continue to say you have to reduce by, they're talking 30 to 50% of whatever they're
Well,
doing.
or altering the materials.
Yeah, of altering, some businesses will go out of business, all right? And some businesses will be able to do that, but what they're saying, I keep seeing the expression, it's one size fits all policies. I don't think that, considering the fact that New York State is one of the worst states for business
Well, how
in the
many,
country. I think that they
how
could
many
do better
plastic-
than this.
how many plastic companies are there in New York State?
They all went out of business.
So, there you go. Where are they? They're not here.
They went out of business.
So we don't
And
have,
factories went out of business.
That's right.
and-
So-
Maybe you could put the ones in the other states out of business too.
Listen,
Maybe we should all be farmers and wear burlap.
aren't you tired?
Bob, please, I have the floor. All I'm saying is that I feel it's difficult to vote tonight, because I feel that the resolution is simplistic because it's not addressing some of these issues.
Okay, so
That's-
I hear you,
and I'm not
you wanna
ready
table
to-
this until next month,
Yeah,
except that's not the right word, so let's use the
I
right
make
word.
I
Lay it over.
move,
Because
Lay it over.
tabling it is actually doing it right now, apparently.
okay, no, I move to lay this over.
I'll second it.
So
Second,
that's fine.
I mean, I even second that, I think that's fine, because exactly, I mean, this was introduced by Dinowitz, as well as others.
Well, he's a sponsor.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
a sponsor.
No, and listen, I get along and have a great relationship, but I think that I'm gonna read this bill much more carefully, and I'm gonna have some comments about it that could be reflected, in whatever, I just don't
And I
feel
think that we should have a
comfortable.
report from the sanitation department on how much it costs them to take care of the plastic for the city of New York.
Yeah, okay.
I
What
mean-
is the cost to the taxpayer?
Yeah, I mean, you're never gonna be able to get
Well,
comparable.
they know what the cost is. They,
I know, but you're not gonna be able to compare that against what the improvement is gonna be. I mean, it's a level of knowledge that's not probably possible. Legislation is gonna move things in a direction. It's hard to quantify, even though I know we're sort of required.
And the
to-
hope here is to move it in the direction of more
Right,
sustainable
of course,
materials and
which
more
sounds right.
recycling and utilizing already recycled materials.
and not,
some of it is
and not,
increasing the standards that all
cutting
paper
down on the
bags.
garbage.
But like all paper bags need to be 40% recycled. Most, or at least from some stores, are 100% recycled, so I would love to push them, to force them to be at least 40%.
The more heavily recycled the material is, the less transparent it is. So the people who are investing or their life savings in developing a
talking
product,
paper
they
bags.
want it to be visible.
Paper,
They want it to be
paper,
visible.
I meant paper bags. It doesn't set a percentage of recycled plastic. It's trying to
Peace.
change the materials.
She has to go home.
Less
he doesn't want to-
formaldehyde,
Listen.
whatever.
You move to postpone and save my marriage.
Yeah.
You better believe that, sister.
Community board loyalty goes a long way, but.
Of course, you have to go home to him now. So, okay, this is your copy. Keep it. I have it, I have it.
Okay. very well.
I can send you a copy like that. Do you want a copy like that?
Yeah,
I took off the green because it made me wild. 'Cause
yeah,
there
no,
was-
that's better, yeah.
Yeah, right,
I
right.
started to read it on my phone, but I have to have it printed out, so. Yeah, I could not get through this,
Well,
but I will, but I
Guess
will,
what
I
they
will.
spend on this?
Whenever I hear that people have trouble falling asleep, I feel like they're not reading the right stuff.
Yes, that's right. Well, watching the right stuff.
Steve, I hope you never have a knee replacement, a total knee replacement. Believe me, it makes a big difference.
It doesn't matter.
True, okay, so is there any other new business, anything anyone wants to bring up?
Let's see. Oh, yeah, there is
We
one
lost
thing,
Emily?
one
Yeah,
announcement.
we lost Emily, maybe her battery died or something.
Okay, one
It
quick
just fell off
announcement.
suddenly.
This was from News 12, Department of Sanitation is overseeing graffiti removal services throughout the city. They're urging people to call 311, and then DSNY will send someone out, they deal with the landlord, they get those permissions. They'll deal with painting, and they'll even deal with removal if it's on a non-painted surface. So I thought that was very good news, I sent it to
Yes,
you and
yes,
to
that's right.
Farah.
I think that was
Yeah,
great.
I used to sleep with a woman who used to run a program like that many years ago.
And then Farah said that it's, Councilman Dinowitz who's giving money to the Senate, to DSNY to do this program.
Oh, okay, it's great, no, and
I
that-
didn't know, who knew, right? So I said, okay, that's so easy, call 311. All right.
No, that's good, because there
My
was,
announcement.
before this, there was a conflict between that where DSNY was just offering materials to the property
wow, I
owners.
remember.
And the property owners were really the ones who would have to do it, but then in some cases, they were like, well, we don't even have access to it, it's like overhanging the train tracks, or, so it's like, but now, this is thanks to that budget resolution probably too, DSNY has the power to clean anything.
So should that be announced? I mean, it could be in
So
our
I'm gonna put it in the
minutes,
minutes, for sure, I'll
but
mention it
maybe,
at the next
maybe
meeting too.
mention it at the,
Yeah,
when you do your
And you send
report.
that, yeah,
That
I'm
would
gonna
be
yeah,
find
great.
that
yeah.
email from you and I'll add it in.
At the meeting.
At the
Yeah.
next meeting, since this meeting's after the last one,
Oh, right.
but that's fine, at the next meeting.
One of those.
Yeah, no, that's fine, that's actually a good thing, yeah, exactly.
Okay, no.
That's right, I know that's something that many other members have complained about, every time I go by some of them, I'm wondering how they even reach.
That's always amazing to consider.
Like on the side of the road over the train tracks now, like when you're right, like exit 10 off 87, there was like one layer, like along the grass, then at some point, a second layer appeared, now there's a third layer that's like 30 feet up on the wall there, over the the old abandoned
No
train
idea,
tracks.
no idea.
And I don't know, I'm like inventing things in my head of like, how did they do this? Are they carrying a ladder in there, or do they have some sort of,
Laser.
no, my theory now is that there's like a
Some sort of-
periscoping stick.
Yeah,
That when they click it, it can spray the can, they put the spray can up there like a.
They
like
may
a
be
selfie-
hanging from above. They may be
They put it
hanging
up?
from above. They may be
Really,
using
they're getting up to
harnesses.
the top of the parking garage and like rappelling down
Can
like
they teach
Spider-Man.
drones to graffiti?
well, when people paint on the side of bridges that go over highways, they have to be doing it that way.
Right, right.
Something,
They
right,
can't be
yeah,
boosting from the roadway.
but so, as long as DSNY can get there to clean it, maybe, that's good, so perfect, so everyone should 311. And then pass the 311 requests to Farah, and the office can follow up with them, and,
Right.
if they just close it on you or whatever, but
I'll test
The-
this out.
311, I feel like 311 works. I get responses back, or I don't if it's getting passed to the next department and working its way through the thing. It just stays open for a while.
The city
And
runs
that's
on
okay, too.
311.
It's great. You request a pothole, it's patched like a day later somehow.
What?
Well, like the cheap patching, when they just put the black top,
Wow.
gravel down and kind of like a little mound that eventually gets
There's
flattened
an
out.
intractable
They seem to just be
problem in
going through the neighborhood.
Streets that they never paved because of the whole private street thing.
Well, that's different.
That's a dream of mine.
I
Somehow,
request city streets to get
You know,
fixed.
put
It
the
happens
streets back on
pretty
the map
instantly.
and make all the streets equal.
Well, that's what they're doing to 254.
They're accepting 254th from that problem by doing it, by having.
Oh, I think that at the end of
safe
it, it will
schools.
become a city street again, though. I think it ceases to be a private street after this. I think the city is taking it back,
I see.
and
How do they do that? What is that
that's
called?
why it's taking so long.
No, I mean, they're doing eminent domain
Yeah.
for some of the land,
Oh,
but that's what,
land,
but
right,
that
right.
one, that's not the city's
But not even,
land.
they're actually buying it.
But for the,
They're gonna give the homeowners
Yeah,
whatever.
and
now,
then
that's what
that
eminent
little
domain
strip.
is,
Oh,
me
it's
too.
okay.
compensated, but I mean, lots of parts of the street that people think is their land is already part of the street.
Yeah, right.
And-
In the borough president's office, there's a map that has that as
Right.
street, official street,
Right.
which is footage.
Right,
But that's not the way the city laid out the grid when they built that street. You know what I
some of the
mean?
years are not very old, some of the years are the 60s and the 50s when the city, drew what was theirs. It's all about the
Oh.
private sewer business.
Yeah,
When some wealthy landowners who owned way more than just a house plot
right.
wanted to keep development away, they
Right.
took the streets back and built a private sewer system in a lot of the area west of the Parkway. And then those streets kind of came off the city map.
So is 254th Street a private sewer?
Yes.
And the DP is gonna build them?
Well, I'm not sure that, I don't know if the sewer line on Palisades, I would guess it is, but
Oh, Palisades, yeah. bet
I
you're
think
right.
that's where it is, if you look
Okay.
at that.
But not them
diagram.
going down the,
I think so.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
think they're replacing them on the going down.
oh, they're not,
I'm
oh, they're.
not
only
sure.
doing
Oh, they're only
one.
doing part of it?
I thought
There
it
was something
I
in
thought it
there
was at the
about
bottom,
them
toward the bottom
expanding
of
some
the-
parts.
I think I even had the PowerPoint, so I can go back and. look.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he emailed it to us after the last meeting,
Yeah,
or
that's right.
re-forwarded actually the one he had already sent
Right,
us.
right, right, and I
before.
noticed that, I looked at at the video and I was like, oh, I was at that meeting.
Oh, really?
But then before,
He told me-
all
he
were
told
like,
me
we
on
haven't
the
seen that,
video.
Steven's like, yes, you have, I sent it to you, look.
Right.
And you were there, yeah,
Right.
so we all look at that, but yeah, I mean, it's great that they're doing it anyway.
Yeah, it is.
whatever form they're in then.
It is.
All right, perfect timing. Whatever.
Oh,
Motion to adjourn?
no, right, okay. A second.
Okay.
Okay.
It's like Steve at 10 o'clock. Okay, the meeting is now over. I like those church bells.
11,
Yeah. All
Good
right.
night.
Good night.
You know, sometimes you get.
Thank you, good night.
Oh, agree.